Hey everyone, hope you are well and good. I know I am well and good because it's a nice day here in Nashville and I have a classic on the faders right now. As you just seen, me and a handful of my friends here in town got together several months back and recorded just a lot of fun stuff, a lot of it that we grew up on. And one of them that we were really looking forward to was Eye of the Tiger, sang by my friend Bryan Cole. And now this is part of our series where everything is recorded SSL. So every preamplifier, every equalizer, channel strip compressors, the whole 9 yards are SSL 9,000 channel strips, 4,000 channel strips, and the Harrison 32C. So if you hear it, it's SSL. That said, I went before I started this mix. I'm filming this before the mix that you just heard is even done. So we're going out of chronological order here. But that said, I listened to the original this morning before I got started, and it's one of those things. It's just always surprising. Sometimes you go back in time and listen to something, and it's like, oh gosh, that's not at all what I thought. When it's random background noise in a restaurant or while you're washing your car on a sunny day. There's a lot of things about the mix that just wouldn't hold up by today's standards, not at all. And so when you open these mixes when you open these tracks that we are giving to you, remember you can download these and have a fun mixing these yourself, or re-singing or replaying guitars or drums, whatever you want to do. I don't think it's going to be hard for you to beat the original. And that said, maybe you don't want to copy the original, even though the musicianship is pretty close to the original. You may want to take the mix in an entirely different, more modern direction. But what I tried to do was kind of honor a lot of what the original was, but I kept it, very, very simple. So let's see, let's just listen to a moment of the chorus. I currently have it in progress. Pretty happy with the band, still working on the vocals a little bit.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rival.
And when I listen to the drums on the original, there's obviously some of that early 80s. This goes back to 1982, or early 80s reverb on the snare drum. And it also sounds like there was a room mic used. The drums weren't really powerful and impactful at all. They kind of sounded a little distant, actually. I was kind of surprised because I always remembered this song being aggressive, and I think it's more the guitars and the volume of the guitars versus everything else that made it feel so muscular and angry and full of angst in its day. But as you'll see, the drums, we'll just listen to them for a second. No trickery whatsoever. It's literally just basic SSL channel strip. That's the kick drum, for example. That's the snare drum here. As you'll see, just very minor work on the snare drum. Let's see, let's go to the toms, and you'll see just a little bit of EQ here using the 4,000 channel strip. One thing, like I said, it's basically just like I was using an SSL console. You'll see the overheads here. Everything's SSL. Just that's kind of my normal everyday starting spot for drums anyway. The one exception you'll see that's not like just basic console settings is this guy right here from Clang Habitat, Lyra. This is a multi-band saturation box. So I am putting some of that on the toms and the overheads to get a little, just get a little extra juice out of it. And in fact, what I'll do is I'll show you like the overheads with and without this guy. They do obviously get a little louder, but you'll also notice the impact difference and where that impact is happening in certain frequency ranges. And that's what you can do here by dividing it up into 4 bands. One more time, before and after. So that is giving me a little extra gas and a little extra impact. I'm not using any samples. There's no trickery at all with drum samples on the kick or the snare, anything like that. The one thing that I do have is a little bit of parallel compression on the snare drum. And that is this guy right here. And you will also hear just again, kind of in the vein of the original, I decided I wanted to put some room on it, some reverb, just because that's what was there. And I'm using the Music Club setting on the Lexicon 480. This is the relab version of it. And that little that's on the kick and snare. Other than that, it's all just the room ambience. See, I'm adding very, very little compression because we tracked it with the channel strip compressors on the SSL. I believe we used the 4K. In fact, let's just check it out. What I'll do is I'll play the drums with and without the room patch. So I'm using a healthy dose of, I say room patch, but the room mics. These are actual room mics in our studio down in the Berry Hill neighborhood. So that's really about it that's going on in drumland. Let's see. Let's take a look at the guitars, and you'll see every guitar was treated as if it was recorded to tape with this setting right here on the Slate virtual tape machine. It's a 2-inch 16 track at 15 IPS. Every one of them is exactly the same, just taking just a little edge off, because this is 1982. I don't know the recording format or anything, but it's not jumping like a modern recording in many ways. So I'm taming certain things just a little bit. Overwhelmingly, it's all SSL 4K channel strips, and you'll see very, very little EQ. I mean, we were capturing, just fantastic studio players here in Nashville. That's what these guys do for their living all day, every day. They know how to get guitar tones, and it just didn't take a lot. There's not a lot of layers to this song. One thing I want to show you, the one little trick that I do a lot, is when you get in the beginning of this song, it's not the beginning of it, it's all the way through. You have, this guy in stereo, so it's doubled. So how do I get a little separation between those two? Like if you're going to listen in mono, right? If you're going to listen in mono, you want them to maybe still have just a little differentiation other than the slight timing difference. So what I did on number 2 here on the right, I used nothing but the SSL, and you'll see I boosted about 4 dB of 2.5K, or 2.4K to be exact, and that's it. That's all the trickery that's going on. And then on the other one, what I did, you'll see the SSL is providing my filters, but everything else is flat. Well, except for there is a little cut at 250. But what I want to show you is that I'm getting my mid-range boost on the Helios 69 channel strip from Lindell Plug-in Alliance. So you'll see I'm boosting 2K here. So really close to the same frequency range, but because the circuits sound entirely different between the circuits, I get some separation between the two, even when you're out of the sweet spot or in mono. One other little thing is because of the spiky nature of this pattern, you'll see the rhythm parts in the choruses are quite a bit louder than the than that chicka chicka chicky thing. That's the technical term, is chicky chicky. I do have a little bit of 1176 going on. You'll see what it's doing here. That's about all I'll show you here, because you can see everything else is just, the piano is a SSL brightened up just a little bit, hitting, EQ'd into the like an API 2500 style EQ. That's one of my favorites for really locking a piano in place. See, it jumped up to about 4 dB of compression on that one really loud hit. But this is such an easy mix, right? There's just not much going on as far on my end. I think once you get the tracks, you'll see it comes together pretty quick. But the main kind of star of the show, of course, is always going to be the vocalist and my friend Bryan Cole. And what we did, we had, and I'll follow this segment with a little interview about ADK microphones. But ADK was actually in town doing some visits. And Bryan is a big fan of ADK, owns a couple of their microphones, and is adamant about using his microphones when he records. So that said, let's talk a little bit about what I did to the vocals. And you'll see it was really coming together with minimal effort. And so what I did is I had a little EQ, and I mean just a little EQ. And it's the thrill of the fight, rising up
to the challenge.
You notice on the video there's two microphones, right in front of his face. I wanted to show you the difference between a 67 and a 49 as far as the sonic footprint of those two circuits. So because of that, I wanted to use the same channel strip preamps. So they both went through SSL 9000s, but there's no compression. So when you look at it, you'll see it's pretty, the dynamic range is pretty big. So that said, it's going to require quite a bit of compression to fit into a more modern mix, even modern in terms of matching what they did in 1982. So my first round of compression is this guy right here.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight.
That's really helpful, leveling it out in a way that's not enhancing attack or diminishing attack. There's something about the way RVox works. It's just the attack and release characteristic. I just really like it for a first step of leveling if I'm going to be doing heavy pummeling like we're going to have to do here because of the lack of compression when recording. That's followed by an 1176, and I'm using the universal audio version, the black.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight.
So it's bouncing around between 5 and 7, which is a pretty sweet spot, especially matching the what was going on in 1982, where they didn't automate like we do today, and they didn't compress as heavy as we do today, by many standards. So some words are loud, some words are really quiet, and that's just the way it was. And so I don't even know if I'm going to do much automation on the lead vocal. I just don't think it. I just think it kind of fits the aesthetic by just kind of hammering it with the compression that you see here, and then just going a little de-essing.
It's the.
In fact, you can see on the word it kind of kicks in. I'll turn it off just so you can kind of hear how much natural sibilance there is or isn't. How much we're controlling it.
It's the. Tiger, it's the thrill of the...
So it's not much. You'll see. I mean, I've got it's set to 3 dB of reduction at 5K. So it's a very, very minor. One little thing that I am doing, just because I thought it made Bryan's vocal set into the track just a little more attractive without further compression. And that's this trick. I've showed it many times before, but it's the C1 by Waves. It's the sidechain version. I'm taking... looks like around 2,400 cycles, 2.4K, and notching that just a little in a way that's dynamic. So it's only kicking in a dB or two when he's really gunning it in that frequency range. And you can watch it in action right here.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up.
So maybe 2 dB, but you'll hear in the track, it's definitely making a difference. Let me play it for you with and without.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up to the challenge of our rival.
So what it's doing, it's controlling the dynamic a little bit of an area where our ears are kind of sensitive. And that said, it makes it sound like it's a little more down in the track, even though I'm not using compression on, broadband compression. It's real narrow right there. It's just a little trick to make something either sound, A, prettier, or two, a little bit more compressed because it's kind of dealing with the spot that our ears hear. Effects wise, let's see, what was I doing? Oh yeah, a little bit. And in fact, let's kind of open up my effects bin here. I dug out the old EMT 250 from Universal Audio here, and that's going to be the reverb. In fact, let's turn off the other guy so we know exactly what we're hearing.
It's the eye of the tiger.
Dry.
It's the eye of the tiger.
So quite a bit, but if you listen to the original, it's even a lot more. So I'm taming it down a little bit. Then I have a little bit of a kind of a short room simulation slap.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up.
And then I have a little bit of short delay.
It's the eye of the tiger.
And I'll show you what those tools are. The really short room, simulation is right here. This is from Audiory, I guess is how you say it. I'm not even sure, but I love this. This is their version of the Ursa Major space station, and that's the settings I'm using. Slap 2, and I'm just a huge fan of that box. Wish I had a real one. Then the short slap, not the roomy kind of slap, but the short one is a tape slap that's based on 15 Ips, and that's this guy right here from McDSP.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight, rising up.
All right, and then lastly we have this guy right here, a little bit long.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight.
And what is giving that to us? It's this EC300, also from McDSP. Now, this is an eighth note in this tempo. So all those are kind of adding up to be this guy right here.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight.
So there's some extra background vocals included with this package. It's not part of the original. Just use them if you want them. Bryan wanted to lay them down for us. But again, what you're going to get, and let me just kind of bypass all the effects here for a second. Kind of the purpose of this was to show how microphones, using the right microphone for the right song is such a big deal. Not for the right song necessarily, but for the right singer. So matching a microphone to a singer and kind of making it tailor-made for his sound, and that's what we're able to do here. So let's turn the 67 on.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the
And this will be the 49.
it's the eye of the tiger, it's the
Instantly quite a significant difference in how it jumps out or how contained it is, the frequency response. The 49 is a more subdued, warmer, richer, rounder sound. In fact, let's just hear that in the track for a minute, and I'll leave all the effects off, but I'll put a little bit of parallel compression on it.
it's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of the fight.
Now here's the 67.
It's the eye of the tiger, it's the
So it's that upper mid-range boost is really helping him cut through a more modern rock track. So he's a big fan of the 67, and so that's what I'm going to use in the mix. But you'll hear how, if we were doing another type of vocal that has a lot of mid-range push or cut, and we were wanting something a little more calming in nature, we could put up this 49.
it's the eye of the tiger, it's the thrill of
And it's going to put it exactly where we would want it for that guy. And of course, they have 47s and 251s. If we want a lot of air or the fullness of a 47, there's lots of options. So download these Multitracks and have a blast mixing the band. And you can choose and actually take a little time to listen to these two microphones side by side. And it gives some of you that maybe haven't had a lot of experience listening to some differences in high-end microphones, some of what we talk about when we talk about these sonic footprints. So have a great time. Now for Miles and Bryan on the interview. Hey everyone, Joe Carrell here, and I'm excited to be here today because I want to introduce you to a couple of good friends of mine. Number one, right to my right, is Bryan Cole, and some of you are probably thinking, I recognize that guy, and there's a couple places where that may have happened. Number one, he travels all over the United States, basically being Steve Perry. He is the front man for a professional Journey tribute band called Resurrection, a Journey tribute. The other place is you and your bandmates came out to the studio here, it's probably been a year ago now.
I think so, yeah.
Where we recorded several of the greatest Journey hits of all times, like Separate Ways, Send Her My Love, Stone in Love, some things like that. And so you've probably seen his face on the channel doing that kind of a thing. But when we did those Journey videos, you had one caveat. And your caveat was?
I wanted to bring my own mic.
Yes, you
because
did.
I nothing against your mic collection.
Right,
You've
right.
got a great mic collection. I just know my mic. You know what I mean? And I know what fits right with my voice. And being a singer, I think it's important to have your own mic that really has all the qualities that really bring the very best out of your voice. And 80K has done that for me since the very beginning.
Your microphone that they saw in the videos was a 67.
It was the TC67, which they don't make anymore.
But it's a tube.
It's a tube mic,
67,
and
yeah.
it's phenomenal.
Well, it sounded great, and we had tons of feedback on your voice, which, of course, is the whole package. It would have to have been your voice and delivery, the microphone, the preamplifier. I mean, everything turned out great. I remember mixing that stuff thinking, this is mixing like a dream. But because of that, I had another friend follower that saw those videos. It's like, hey, I'm a huge ADK fan as well, and I know Miles from ADK, which leads me to my other new friend right here, Miles Fullwider, which is the president of ADK Microphones. And somebody reached out to you about that video as well, right? Said, hey, have you seen?
Yeah.
First of all, what do you think about Bryan's pipes?
I think like everybody else that's commented on that, it's pretty incredible. You close your eyes and you're not sure what you're hearing.
Is that really Journey? Yeah, exactly. He's fantastic. Well, tell us about ADK and your journey with ADK. But you were not the founder. You're the current president, though.
Correct. Yeah. So this is, I believe, our 27th year with ADK Microphones. It was founded by Larry Villela, brilliant pianist and engineer and all these things. And he set out, in the late 90s, everyone's vintage microphone collections started to grow exponentially in value. And he, as just such an astute ear and passion for music, just really got panicked about, there's these classic tone profiles. How do we maintain that? How do people afford that? how does this just continue on? And so he set out and built ADK Microphones, that was to do that. That was to take, not that the end point wasn't to create a tone exactly like the vintage microphone. That was really the starting point. Like, how do we take that tone that we know and love when you think of a 67 or 251 and you reach for that? How do we take that, but then put this into a modern workflow and make that work that's going to work in the very dynamic way that we work today? And particularly we have such low noise floor with the equipment that we use, and obviously different type of the reliability of components and things like that. That a microphone that's going to be around 27 years and stuff like that. You're using a TC microphone that we no longer make, but you're using it every day, and it sounds great.
That is one thing about old microphones. I've rented some, paid good money to rent some before, and you get them to the studio and power them up, and it's like, oh, that, this is a sparse acoustic guitar-driven ballad, and that noise floor is going to be a real serious problem. That's something we don't think about very much when we think about the classics, but it's nonetheless a battle that we face. So you have a pretty broad, when you talk about those tones and those voices, you have a pretty good number of those that you have recreated. Give us all those model numbers.
Yeah, so we have, the DNA exists in all three product lines. So briefly, we have three product lines. We have our Z2 that are our premier tube microphones. These are what we've been using today. We have our T-FET lines, which are all FET, solid state, large diaphragm, tripolar, so you have multiple patterns. And then we have our 3 Sigma, which is our hybrid microphone line, where you have a small amplifier body. We call it our head amp. It's 22 millimeter, but you might see, it might be what you're familiar with when seeing like a small diaphragm microphone. But you're able to swap components, and you can have large diaphragm on these small bodies, and you have this full range of tones that you can use there. And so what you find across all the product lines is you find the same range. You have our 67, 47, 251, 12, 49. In our Z2s, we have our 800 as well. Our philosophy is picking the right color, the right crayon out of the crayon box for whatever the job is. And so that's what we strive to do. So in all of those lines, you find a 67 in, the Z2 67, you find our, what we call our Hamburg 67 in our T-FET line, and then you have our Lollipop 67 that affixes in. And so you see all of that, but the purpose of that is trying to help choose the best solution for whatever the application is.
My first exposure to these was through Chuck Ainley, which is a legendary engineer. I'm sure anyone that's watching these videos knows who he's probably Nashville's all-time most celebrated, engineer, most recognizable face. But he had, I think, your entire product line, at least one of every one of them back then. And he had more microphones in his collection than the studio that I was renting space in the same studio where he was renting space, and he had more collection, a bigger collection than the studio. So he was like, man, anytime you're doing a vocal or an overdub or whatever, come back and grab anything you want. He's just a great guy. And so I went back one day and I'm like, hey, I've got this artist and I probably need to grab a few things because I've never worked with him before. Have no idea what I'm getting into. He's like, use the 80K stuff. And he was like, and not only, for a couple reasons. Number one, they sound great. Number two was they all took the same power supply. They all took the same cable, and they all fit into the same basket. So when it came to doing a microphone shootout, option number 1, tweet, option number 2, like it was that fast. There was no changing out proprietary cables, power supplies, baskets, all that nonsense that we have to do sometimes to just get rolling. And it was great. I think, as I recall, we stuck with the 251. Not that that matters, but yeah.
Good
and
choice.
so the way you distinguish them with color, even though they all basically have the same appearance. Even though the electronics are fully different and everything, you have some different colors, right? You have this is the 49 here, and this lighter blue is a 67. You may have seen some of their other products that got red. It's a 251.
The 12.
This is the 12, right? And the cream color is the 251.
Yep. Correct.
Yep, and etc. But that leads me to something though. Since you have multiple products that look alike, I'm sure people probably assume that it's essentially the same guts inside of there, with some kind of not trickery, but using various component changes to get the different voicing, but otherwise all the same. But what I found out, that's not at all true.
Yeah. So it really boils down for us. One of the things I think that's unique to what we do is all of the microphones have a capsule that has been designed by 80K microphones. And so what that has allowed us to do is we get that tone profile from the design of the capsule and the necessary transformer. So they, for example, those have different transformers in the microphone itself. And so that allows us to get that tone profile that we want without sort of shoehorning with EQ or other type of circuitry to make it sound a certain way. So by doing that, it allows us to get a better frequency response, the off axis, which is a lot of times people don't think about the off axis sensitivity on a microphone because we're always so used to hearing the sound direct source, which is important, certainly vital, but the off axis, sometimes those room reflections, the other sound, that's where you can really start to hear some of those differences. And so all of those things, we achieve better performance because of not having to do some of those circuitry. And so our ethos has always been this. You see it all over. We refer to straight wire theory. So it really is no extra circuitry in there. It's design circuit to capsule on out, and that's how we try to make as pure a path as possible. So and that's the painstaking lengths that we go to get the sound that we do in our design.
Now, I know when I opened up the case, and it's a beautiful case, by the way. You should get some B-roll, Max, for when we because it's like, wow, I'd use this as a suitcase, for my luggage at the airport and be everyone's envy. But that said, there were I noticed multiple tubes. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so something that we've really enjoyed doing is exploring the tube options. And so all of the Z2 microphones, there's essentially 3 tube. We call it a tube sampler pack that comes with the microphone. So all of them ship with the 12 AY7, which we explain to be the most audiophile, purest tube response.
And when you say ships with it, you mean that's the one that's already inside the microphone?
That's inside it, and there's an extra one that comes with it.
Okay.
But then in addition to that, we actually have a 12, the 12AT7 and a 12AX7. And each of those are different, and they actually push the output transformer a little harder. And so our philosophy behind that was just taking some thought in the pre-production process. If I know I have a rock singer coming in, or maybe it's a really, I want to push that output transformer, and I don't want to, I'm not changing the overall timbre of the microphone, but there's a different drive characteristic there, and being able to swap that and manipulate that inherently within the analog domain is really useful, and it's not relying on plugins or other types of tools to do that. So we want, again, we've always believed in options and colors and things like this, and so we want to provide as many options for that. And so if that's something that appeals to you, so the same 12AX7 that you put in your guitar amp can go in this microphone as well, and you can drive that a little harder, and you'll hear some of that natural harmonic distortion and things, and it's a very pleasing approach to a production to apply that way.
I have to tell you, so the microphones that I have they don't make anymore. So you don't make anymore. And I noticed, other than the amazingly sexy case that it's in, I noticed the build quality of the power supply is incredible. I mean, look at that. When you turn the knob, right, it's like turning a amazing tube compressor. You know what I mean? And the quality, I could just feel this, and I'm not giving this back to you, by the way. I'm taking this home with me. But in all seriousness, I love these mics. My voice is so transparent with it, and Joe, I think you can attest to it, is you don't have to do much. You know what I mean? You plug it in, you sing through it, you run it through a mic preamp. For those bedroom producers that, say, can't afford a $5,000 preamp, that's okay. You can take this and plug this into an Apollo, plug it into an SSL 2 or 2 Plus, whatever, and it's still going to sound amazing.
To that point, I mean, that was something that, this is the Z2 or the Z squared, and the original Z mod was very, very popular. And when we redesigned that, it was a complete redesign, as well as the power supply and everything. And that was, it's all done in the United States. The metalwork, all of that is done here. And then we worked with famed microphone designer David Bach, and that was that idea is, we want this to work wherever you're working, whether that's in a beautiful studio like this, or if you're just doing something on your laptop at home, wherever. Like, let's just remove all of the other things and just get the best possible capture we can.
And I can tell you from experience that I've done it all with your microphones, and that is, I've gone to a great studio like this in Nashville, and I've just done, someone would call me to say, hey, we want you to sing on our record or whatever. I just plug it in and it's ready to go. No matter what environment you're in, these things sound great. And that's the reason I use them, and I love them. I really do.
Now, of course, we are kind of focusing on tubes there for a moment, but you have a solid state product line as well.
Yeah, which again still shares the same capsule DNA that the Z2s have, and they're all FET solid state microphones, and they sound incredible. And we have our 47 and 67, 251, 12, and in our TFAT line we actually have a unique microphone called the Munich 7. So they all have a fun homage name. We have our Vienna 12, our Hamburg 67, Berlin 47, Frankfurt 49, and Cremona 251. But within that range, we have our Munich M7 microphone, and that is an M7 style capsule. But if I were to explain what that sounds like, it sounds like the low end of the 47 and that creamy top end of the 67. And so it's a really unique balance that is really fun, and that only exists in the TFAT line as well. But yeah, so we have that. We have a lot of versatility in that line.
One thing that you said earlier that kind of took me by surprise is how long ADK has been around. I had no idea originally, and then I got to thinking back in time about how long ago it was that I actually borrowed those microphones from Chuck. And it's like, oh yeah, we're getting older, time is marching on. So you've been in business a long time, but what that means is obviously you're turning around products that people want and have had success with. So congratulations.
Thank you.
On being the new president. So what, about 4 years now, you said? 23?
Yeah, 23, yeah.
Okay, so 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
Well, congratulations on that. We look forward to seeing what you have in the works. You haven't told us much, but you said there's some other stuff happening.
Yeah, there could be.
Okay, cool. So remember, down below, there's going to be a link where you can download the Multitracks, and I don't know why I'm pointing back here other than the fact that there's a drum set back there. So you can download drums, bass, electric guitar, everything, as well as Bryan's amazing voice. And we intentionally used 2 microphones at the same time. Tried to get the capsules kind of close together. So there's a 49 and a 67, and you'll hear the sonic difference. And that's kind of the whole point of having a product line like this, and what makes it great, for us as microphone lovers and gear lovers is that, you're just like, yeah, honey, I really do need all those voices. Because you'll hear, it's like they're very different. And while this one fits Bryan best, I have this other singer that this one would fit best, or this other instrument, or whatever the case may be. So download these tracks and check out Bryan and the drums and the bass guitar on this classic Rocky 3. It was Rocky 3, right?
Yeah.
Rocky 3, Survivor, Eye of the Tiger, and do your own mix on it. Have a great time doing that. And if you are looking at these and thinking, man, I would like to own one of these, right before we started rolling, Miles said he would be willing to do a 10% discount to all the viewers. So there'll be a couple codes below. There'll be a code to download the Multitracks, as well as a code that's going to take you to the website to get a 10% discount on all their products, which is amazing. So thank you for offering that. So other than that, grab the tracks, have a blast, and we'll see you next time.